Welcome to the Accountants Exposed podcast, where we create light bulb moments for our listeners by exposing the journeys, secrets, and insights of some of the top players in accounting. This podcast is brought to you by Michael Edelstein, Director and Founder of Recruitment Expert, a specialist accounting recruitment agency working across Australia, New Zealand, and Asia Pacific. Ladies, gentlemen, and accountants, I'm excited to have Natalie Lennon on our podcast. She's everything a modern accountant is all about. Tax savvy, shrewd with social media. But besides being able to TikTok away, she has also won the 2021 Accountant of the Year award. Today we talk about all sorts of things, from her rapid progression to manager, to her boredom in commerce, to being a young female equity partner in her 20s, navigating a boys' club in a boardroom. But wait, there is more. We cover all things accounting, dealing with struggling clients during the pandemic, using tech, social media, and of course, outsourcing to manage rapid growth. So tune in, enjoy, and please share the podcast. Hi, Natalie. Welcome to the Accountants Exposed podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited.
Well, I was going to say, what are all those things in the background, by the way? Are they soundproof?
Yeah, they're soundproofing. Yeah, we've got our little podcast studio.
Okay. Yeah, because you run your own podcast.
Yes.
I think it's called Totally Bossing It?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay. What was the inspiration behind that?
I've always wanted to do a podcast for the last couple of years, but I could never really think of the topic because I was like, people don't want to listen to an accountant just go on about accounting things. It's not very exciting. And then when COVID hit and the businesses were starting to come out of it and we were hearing all these really fantastic stories, I thought, that's it. That's exactly what my podcast is going to be about. So it's a mix of me interviewing small businesses and how they've thrived and pivoted, that lovely word that everyone loves now since COVID, and what they're doing now. And then also doing a couple of episodes here and there with me talking about the accounting stuff.
Okay, awesome. Are you still doing that now that we're back in lockdown?
It's been a bit of a hiatus.
I was going to say, COVID, it was kind of it started, but it never left.
I know. Well, there's not been too many businesses that are bossing it at the moment. And to be honest, I haven't really felt in the right in a positive headspace, to be doing it. So I'm hoping to resume in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, okay. Tell me about the positive headspace bit. How come?
I think just, lockdown 2.0 hit a little bit harder. Speaking to our friends in Melbourne when they went into their second lockdown, and I think all of us said, lockdown 2, we've done it before, we know what to do, we just roll with it, it's all fine. But I think it does hit differently. And I think this time too, because, and up until now, I guess there's been sort of no end in sight. It's sort of just like we're locked down. We don't know when it's going to end. What does the future look like? Whereas I think when it first hit last year, we all thought, this will blow over in a month or two and we'll all be back to living our life,
It's a bit more optimism there.
Yeah, whereas now it doesn't feel that way.
How has it affected you though?
I think, as a business owner, as a leader of a team, I think you've always got to be positive and, try and be upbeat for your team. And so I feel like sometimes that makes it additionally hard because, you're strong for your team. And then as soon as, you switch off, you're at home on your own or with your partner, you sort of start thinking, about things. And I think similar to last time, I'm dealing with clients every day who can't pay their bills, who are really struggling, and you can't help but take some of that on board personally. And obviously, we've got a small business as well. We've been a little bit quiet. My husband also has a gym, so he's closed.
That's because you told me your husband has a business as well. Yeah, but I didn't know. Okay, so he runs a gym. What kind of gym?
Yeah. So it's a small studio, small group training. So he moved outside initially, and then the day that was announced we couldn't do outdoor training anymore, he came home and he was not in a good way. So I guess dealing with that as well.
This is interesting. So for me, the biggest impact to me has been literally, and it sounds bad, but it's probably just the fact that gyms are closed.
Yeah.
And also, I guess my wife I see her 24/7 now, whereas before she would go to work and I want to have, a bit more alone time. That's
Yeah,
probably the only impact.
yeah.
But there's a guy next door to our house. He runs he owns a CrossFit
Oh,
business, and I
yeah.
was surprised, but he's still doing outdoor training,
One on
but
one.
only two people at a time.
Yeah,
So,
there's a bit of
like
a
very
loophole.
spaced out.
Yeah, there's a bit of a loophole
And
there.
I was like, what the hell? I didn't know that was a possibility.
You're not supposed to, but yeah.
So there is a loophole.
Yeah, well, the health orders say that two people can exercise together,
Yeah.
but then there's another part which says if you're at work, you're exempt. So I think a lot of trainers took that to be, well, we can do three because the third one's exempt. Whereas, yeah, my husband didn't take it that way, and he called, Service New South Wales and got all the rules, and because you don't want to be getting fined. I guess the risk is
Yeah.
low
Well, he
depending
said
on.
he checked it as well, and then apparently it's fine. So I was like, okay, cool. So what he is doing is he tried the online thing. He's like, no, the online thing is, I hated it. So he does a park. He sets up the equipment, and he
Yeah,
has two people really like
spread
spaced
out.
out. And then he does them half an hour. Every half hour, two more people. Every half hour, two separate people. And that's what he's been doing with lockdown, except when it
Yeah.
rains, obviously.
Yeah, and I think CrossFit's one where you need the weights. See, my husband's gym is like weights and functional training, so
Hmm.
he's loaned out a lot of the gear and doing it on Zoom, doing a
Online.
couple of one-on-ones. But yeah, a lot of the trainers are doing it tough because they're doing triple the hours
Yeah.
for less money and trying to just churn out those one-on-ones or two-on-ones.
And they lose the memberships as well
Yeah,
because
it's
they're
hard.
like the friends that I have that do it. They're like, look, we're still doing it, but it's like 40 to 60% less
Yeah,
in terms of member numbers.
yeah, it's
Have
tough.
you found the businesses that like your clients have been a lot more affected compared to last year?
We've actually found the reverse. We've had
Okay.
we've had quite a few less than last time, but I guess it comes down to industry mix. We've probably got three gyms. We've probably got maybe four beauty. Like we've only got
Hmm.
a few that are fully closed. We've got a couple of cafes. They've been hard hit. Retail, I think in the beginning they were okay, and now they're really starting to get hit. So I think it's hard too because a lot of the businesses that are still doing okay are worried about what happens if it goes on a bit longer.
Yeah.
Whereas there's some that know as soon as they open again, they're going to really thrive. So it's
Is it basically like the B2B ones are okay, the B2C are struggling?
yeah.
Cool. And you got a whole studio like for your podcast, like straight away?
Well, we had
Because this is my equipment, by the way. This is
yeah.
literally, and now I feel bad because you've got like a pop filter, proper microphones, a whole studio dedicated to it.
Well, like I said before, Michael, all the gear and no idea. Like if
Yeah.
people who know me know that I'm like 0 to 100. If I'm in, I'm in. So it just so coincided that we moved offices just after COVID last year. We got a really good deal on a bigger space, obviously due to COVID. Thanks, COVID.
Yep, it helps.
Yeah, and so it was an empty space, and we had to put up all the walls. So I thought, well, one of the biggest problems with recording my podcast before was our old office had really thin walls. So I was sitting under my
Mm,
desk with a bean bag, trying to do it. Or if I did it at home, the dogs would get in the way. So I thought, right, it's only a little bit extra to put the insulation in the walls to
yeah.
build a studio. It obviously doubles as a meeting room, and we've got some pretty wallpaper and some funky things on the wall to help with the sound.
Are you coming to the office every day?
Only 3 days at the moment. I'm training a new team member, so we're trying to just do a little bit of office, a little bit of home because she's a junior, so it is really hard to give them that training via
That's what
Zoom.
all of my clients says. Like, look, the seniors, the managers have been with us for like 3+ years.
Yeah.
They can work from home. They're productive, no issues. But the juniors, they really, really struggle.
Yeah, yeah, and look, we're lucky. I only live 5 minutes up the road, and she lives the next suburb over.
Yeah.
So we've been really lucky in that respect. We've only got one team member who's in one of the LJs of concern, but she's more
Hmm.
senior, so she's fine. We were joking the other day; she doesn't know when she'll get to see us again. We shouldn't
Okay. So,
laugh, but she was laughing.
is it just the two of you coming into the office, or
Yeah, just the two
like
of us
a
at the
lot of the
moment.
team? Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it's interesting. Like I speak to some people, and like, nah, I'm still coming to the office. I'm like, and your staff? Some of them do, some of them don't. As long as I don't force them to, I'm okay.
yeah. Look,
Um,
we made the decision fairly early on because we are in the cloud. We'll just do it. And I
yeah.
sort of did say to our other two juniors, if you want to come and work from the office, you can. But they just decided for now, especially with the case numbers increasing, it's just safer for everybody to work from home.
Hmm. How
Yeah.
do you find in terms of productivity and sort of the client experience?
Yeah, so I guess we're trying to do a lot of team building and extra things for the team. So we've implemented morning and afternoon tea breaks, half an hour, get up, go for a walk around the block, take some time. We're doing yoga on a Thursday morning as well. So I've said to
Hmm.
them at the moment, we're not really focused on productivity. Yes, we want to get the work done, but mental health is really important because I know I almost burnt myself out last lockdown, working way too much, and I didn't want them to do that as well.
Okay. Are you running the yoga part or you get
No,
your
so
husband?
one of our clients has got a Pilates studio and yoga, so
Okay.
they're running one on Zoom for us. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Um, what's the difference in terms of how you managed it? Like you said, you nearly burnt out last time, which I think a lot of accountants did.
Yeah.
Um, how did you manage it this time differently?
Well, I didn't to start. To start, I promised myself I wouldn't, and then I think the main thing is that with all the changes, you've got to be on top of it because if you're
Mm,
not and you miss something, like last year, I was watching every single news conference, every single news, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 6 a.m. I was like the go-to for JobKeeper, and then I think one
yeah.
day I switched off and went, "No, I'm going to have a day off today," and they made a massive announcement and then I was like, oh, I can't. So I sort of went through that again this time. And I guess, I feel like the clients need me at that time. So I'm like 24/7, here's my mobile. If you need me, ring me, text me. I don't care what time it is, and I think
Mm,
that's just me wanting to go above and beyond for my clients. And that's sort of settled now, which is great. I think this time I tried to do a lot more exercise. So last time I sort of was like, I don't have time to exercise. I'm too busy and just kept
yeah.
with the work. And then yeah,
What'd your husband have to say about
yeah, he
that?
let's not go there. Yeah.
Okay. Is a client just asking, hey, what are my options? Or is a client running and going, hey, we need to kind of update all our paperwork and get the numbers in so we're eligible to apply. Like,
So I guess let's split that into two parts. So mainly, what am I eligible for? So what I did, I did a blog post which I updated every single day with changes, and I said,
yeah,
here's the link. I'm going to update this every day, and then I did a mail out and a social post to say, look, these are the changes. This is what I've updated, and then we had a link at the bottom to say, here's my diary. If you need to book in a 15-minute call, book it in. And
yeah,
that worked quite well because last year we had so many more people were just booking a call for a chat and crying and just letting it all out and having a chat. So we knew that we needed to do that again. And most of our clients we do bookkeeping for as well, and they're all on zero, so they're all up to date. They're done every month.
yeah, yeah.
um, and what
So
we
you know straight away they were
Yeah,
eligible or
so
not
we could
eligible?
basically log in, look at the numbers, and go, "Yep, you're eligible. No, you're not," which was
Okay.
really good, I think, last year too, because it reinforced why we do that. We had a couple of
Mm,
clients that always felt like we were chasing them and always on their back to get things up to date, and we had quite a few say, "Hey, I'm actually really happy you're a pain in my bum because I know that you can log in, help me with the grants, and move on." Whereas they had
yeah,
friends and friends of friends who were years behind and then couldn't get anything
yeah.
until they were up to date. Yeah.
Do you push anything back on the client and go, look, you've got zero, figure it out? Like this is what the government said. Go and do your numbers, and then I'll write up the letter for you.
Oh, a bit of both. So what we did was we said, look, here it is. If you don't understand it, reach out and we can help you. And then
Yeah,
some of the clients who, really understand their zero file would come back and go, hey, these are the dates, these are the amounts. And then we'd obviously check it and do the letter. But yeah, some clients don't have any idea. And so they really need us to do the whole thing for them.
and do you charge for that or not?
We did, yeah. We did a couple of freebies for clients that
Hmm.
really, really needed it. But yeah, I think we worked out last year during JobKeeper from the beginning, we had to price it and get paid up front, as hard as it is, because there was a lot of work that went, in the background. Easter weekend, I was there, I think on Good Friday, they released some of the changes to the JobKeeper, and I spent Good Friday reading through it. And so in my mind, I was like, I've done a lot of extra work for this and we
Yeah.
have to get paid. We know everybody's struggling, but we're running a business too. And we can't work for free.
how did you price it? Because I mean, some of the stuff is nice and quick, some is not, depending on how many people ask questions, etc. Like,
We did a fixed fee. So some we lost money on, some we made a bit of money on.
okay.
Some we did with a fixed fee with an hourly attached for our bigger clients. They're a bit more
Mm-hmm.
involved, in terms of JobKeeper, some that had, say, 50 employees and we had to go
Yep.
through the payroll and set all that up and all of that.
Mm.
But this time around, most of them didn't really take that long unless they were a new business.
But you still had the fixed fee for the mostly for the letters and like the submission. Is that basically?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because we had to
What sort of
obviously
fixed fee?
what did we do? I think we started off 200.
Yeah.
And then we found that was a little bit cheap compared to what everyone else was doing and how much it was taking. So then we put it up to $300.
Is that the standard now? What other
I don't know.
firms are
It
doing?
seemed to vary. Some accountants doing it for free, some charging
Yeah,
$500.
that's what I noticed.
Yeah,
There's a lot that are doing it free. Some were charging, some started to charge, in the second time round, not the first time round.
yeah. It's hard and it's a really delicate thing. You know your clients are really struggling,
Yeah.
but you can't work for free. So you know you've got
How
to
did the
sort of
clients
even it
react to
out.
it?
Most were pretty good. Most were pretty
Yeah.
good. I think we had one or two that said, "Look, we're really, really struggling. We can't afford to pay you. Can we pay later?"
Mm-hmm.
And some of those we just did for free for them when we looked at the figures and we went, "Look, you're 80% down. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You could have done like the whole tax refund thing. It's like, cool, we'll get you the grand. We'll take the money off off the top.
Yeah, but then the admin work for that, it's not even worth it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um. Okay. Interesting. So, and now it's settled down a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we're just into compliance and getting all of that done.
Okay. Um. Well, let's actually talk about your journey because you've been in account/accounting before you even decided to do an accounting degree.
Yeah. Long time.
Um. Yeah. Tell me a bit more about that journey.
Yeah. So I guess when I left school, I didn't really know, what I wanted to do. I knew mum and dad weren't going to pay for uni, and I knew I didn't really want a HEC step for something that I didn't know, and I wanted to buy a car. So I was
So you were
like,
conscious of that, the whole Hexted thing. Because like I find most people, because you don't have to ever pay, you just sign a form and the government pays for it. No one even cares about it.
yeah, I don't know. I think just in my mind, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to
Is it?
say that back then I was very, good with my money and, really organized and everything else. But I don't know. It just had it in my
But
mind that I didn't want an extra debt.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that like your mum and your nan rubbing off? Because you said they were bookkeepers and accountants.
Yeah, I think probably like mum always ran a pretty tight, family budget. So I think
Yeah.
that was probably instilled to me from a young age without, even realizing it. So yeah,
Do you,
so
do you do the family budget now, and
I
like you run
do.
a
Yeah.
tight ship as well?
Yeah. My husband
Okay.
says to me, "Oh, you could be cooking the books and I wouldn't even know." Yeah.
Do you give him an allowance and go, look, you've got $100 to spend this week.
Oh,
It's been a tight week, you know?
no. I rein him in sometimes when he's been buying too many running shoes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you basically left school, you weren't 100% sure what you wanted to do, but you ended up in accounts though,
Yeah, so
regardless.
I guess at that stage, I knew I wanted to dress up and go into the city and be all professional. So I had a job before I even finished year 12. So I knew that when I came back from schoolies, I was starting work straight away, which, a lot of my friends wanted to have summer and hang out. And I was like, no, I want to get in there and start. So I
Yeah.
started as a junior admin,
Hmm.
and it was a really small software company, really great little team. And I guess I then started doing a bit of MYOB, so a bit of invoicing, accounts payable, found it really interesting, and decided then to start TAFE. So then I went off to TAFE a couple of nights a week. Then it got a little bit much because I live about 45 minutes, probably 45 minutes to an hour from the city. So, late nights at TAFE and then getting up early to get on the train took its toll.
Mm.
And then I got a job closer to home in an accounting firm, a chartered accounting firm. And I guess I was really inspired by everybody around me, and, saw the chartered accountants and how they was, held in such high esteem, and decided, right, if I want to really, take this somewhere, I need to go off and do uni. So then I went off and did uni part-time while I was working there.
Were you still in admin or were you working kind of as a
No,
junior
sorry, I
accountant?
went when I started there, I was like doing accounting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I sort of
Okay.
gave the admin away. I think I was there about 12 months.
So people do hold accountants in high esteem after all?
Oh, I think we're all right. What do you think?
I think so. The trusted advisor lives
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think
As,
that's one good thing that COVID's shown is that people do need a good accountant.
mm. Did you pick up a lot of new clients because of
We
COVID?
did. We did. Last year we picked up quite a few, and I think that also came from the fact that we were so active on social. We did a bunch of
Yeah.
free weekly webinars at one stage. We established a Facebook group where we were sharing a lot of the content as well. So
Hmm.
people were, I guess, inviting their friends and family into the group and pushing everything out. So, yeah, we got quite a few clients that were saying, their other accountant couldn't help them, didn't do payroll.
This is what I
Yeah,
was trying to figure out. Is like, all I hear is, well, the people I guess I interview for the podcast is like, yeah, we picked up a lot of, clients. We grew this, 50+%, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are all these clients, coming from other accounting firms? And if so, who is losing them? Or they're just like people that never had an accountant, or, those people like never do tax returns?
I think we got a couple of those, but I think we also got quite a few that came from accounting firms that didn't do bookkeeping. So if I think back to
Mm,
the other accounting firms I used to work in, we never did bookkeeping and payroll. Like, yeah, we did the bookkeeping to do the BAS, but we didn't really do, I guess, the traditional, bookkeeping payroll piece. So a lot of those
yeah.
accountants weren't ready to help their clients with JobKeeper, whereas most of ours were already on zero, already fully set up, single touch payroll, everything. All we had to do was obviously go, this is how you do it in Zero. If you need help, let us know, and this is how we do it. So I think
So what
that's
did
where
those
they
clients
struggled.
do? The ones that didn't do bookkeeping? Do they
They
have an external bookkeeper, or do they just do it themselves and then submit the stuff to the
I
accountant?
think a mix of both. I think there's still quite a few business owners who are doing things very old school and not realizing they need single touch payroll and all of those things. And some of the accountants don't advise them. So they just
Mm,
keep, rolling on, not knowing any better. And then when we pick up the job, we're like, there's no single touch payroll. You need a system. You need this. You need that. So we have that.
Do they ever look at you and go, "That sounds expensive"? Zero sound like my Excel spreadsheet is cheap.
They
Zero sounds
do.
expensive. STP payroll
Yeah.
sounds expensive.
Yeah, they do. But then when I tell them if they get an audit, that's going to sound very expensive. And I've had one client at the old accounting firm who he would laugh if he heard me talking about this. He didn't want Zero, didn't want MYB, wanted to be on spreadsheet, and then he got a GST audit. They went back 5 years or maybe 3, and we had to put 3 years worth of information into MYB so we could get the GST detailed ledger out. And that was not a very cheap process, let me just say. And he yeah definitely said, I know you told me so and I should have listened. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So you went to uni, finished it within a couple of years, and then you quickly progressed to manager in that accounting firm.
So I think I was probably like, I wasn't managing anybody below me, but at that stage, I had the title of manager. But in saying
Hmm.
that, small firms are very different to your traditional bigger firm. Manager there might not mean the same as manager, in a bigger firm. And I think when you start as a junior, sometimes you, even though you have progressed and you're qualified, you still get treated as a junior. Like they always see you as that younger
Mm.
person. So I guess I reached a stage where I thought the grass was greener and more money in commercial land.
Yeah.
So then I went into commercial for a number of years, moved up quite quickly there, was a finance manager, and just really felt like I was the glorified female sitting on the boardroom table. And I won't even repeat some of the comments that the director made during that time. But let's just say I felt like a bit of a glorified bookkeeper slash manager of bookkeepers. It didn't really, like, the money was great, and having finance manager on my business card, I think I would have been 27 at that stage, so that was pretty cool. But it just wasn't my passion, and I think I knew that being out of tax for a couple of years, I needed to make the decision, because the longer you're out of tax, you lose
Mm.
all that tax knowledge. Um, so then I went back into practice, where I was fortunate enough to become partner within 6 months. as the founding partner, had some health issues and he wanted out. So I guess I have had a bit of an interesting journey that's got me to where I am today.
What was that decision making process like? Like when you said, did you have to talk to a few mentors? Did you look for opportunities? Say, look, if I find the right opportunity, then I'll go back to practice? Or was it like, you know what, tried both. I actually want to be a partner. I like practice. I like dealing with clients. Like, what was that kind of internal process or external process like?
Yeah, it wasn't even at that stage that I wanted to be a partner. It was more just about I want to go back into tax and who will have me, because at that stage I felt like my confidence was a bit shot after being treated
Hmm.
like, the token female. I felt like I'd forgotten a bit of my tax knowledge. And so I just really wanted to slot back into, a firm where I could just get back into the rhythm of tax.
Did you have to take a pay cut?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's always an issue for a lot of people coming back from commerce,
Yeah.
and I should point out, like, it is rare, it happens,
Yeah.
but there's not many that go back,
Yeah, and I think it was
from.
about, from memory, and this was, I guess I was in the city and then I came back to a more local firm, and it was about 15,000 pay cut.
How do you feel about that?
Oh, look, I didn't feel good, but I knew I was, onto a good wicket when I went into the city. And, you think about the travel time, the quality of life, it's very hard to get up and go to the gym before you have to be on the train early. Then you don't get home till late. Whereas if you're in a local firm, the travel times, not as much. You can have a
Yeah.
bit more of a life. So I guess I had to balance all of that up. And I knew that if I took the pay cut, then the pay rises would come again. I just had to really buckle down, roll up my sleeves and get into it.
Hmm. It's exactly what I advise to sort of our accountants as well, but they really struggle with that. Like, because the longer you spend um, at a certain financial level,
It's
you
hard.
know how
Yeah.
they say like your expenses adjust and start
Yeah.
to creep up towards your income as well.
Yeah.
It's hard to go back down
Yeah.
because now you're accustomed to buying fancier cocktails at the bar,
Yeah.
buying a nicer car and all that sort of stuff. So um, yeah, a lot of them struggle, even though they're bored in commerce and not really enjoying it that much. But they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, but I just can't see myself doing, you know,
Yeah, it's a
practice at
tough
a lower
one.
salary.
It's a tough one, but I think, yeah, money doesn't always buy you happiness, and the sooner you work that out, the better.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So you came in, someone decided to, have you back, and then 6 months later you became a partner.
Yeah, which looking back was probably too quick. I probably didn't understand the business as much as I should have. In saying that,
The business of running an accounting firm,
well, I
or
guess a bit of that, which I sort of learned, as I went, but also I didn't understand, I didn't know the team well enough. I didn't know the clients well enough. I didn't know
mm,
the makeup of who was on cloud accounting and who was still being, old school bank statements coded. I just went
yep.
off what I was told, and a lot of that wasn't true. Um, but in saying yeah, but in saying that, I never look back and go, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that." I always take the learnings out of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what were the biggest challenges? Like, cool, you became a partner. I don't know whether it was equity straight away or a little bit down the track, but
So there was equity straight away, which was a big thing. I sat down with my husband. I said, "Look, this is going to be a big investment. It means we can't, move house for a while because we're going to need some of the equity in our house to be able to, buy in."
you're
Some
gonna
of
have to wear the same running shoes for the next
Yeah.
5 years, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. But he saw how much I lit up when I was talking about it. I was excited again about work. And so, yeah, we made the
And you didn't
decision.
expect that, right? Like, you didn't go into
No.
that firm knowing that you'll be a partner.
Yeah.
Okay. What made them choose you? Because obviously, I mean, how big was the firm when you joined?
There was only, I think we had about 7 or 8 employees. Actually, no, maybe
Hmm.
6. I can't remember exactly, but it was just like there was 2 other partners at the time. And it was probably a very partner heavy firm. So when I was a partner there, we were still like I would still be processing and doing some of the work.
Okay, so very old school
Yeah,
style.
very old
Yeah.
school style. But I didn't know much better. I'd only worked for one other accounting firm when I was more junior. So I didn't really know, what the typical firm looked like at that stage. I just saw I was 28. I saw the partner's salary. I saw, being able to learn how to run a business and be
Mm.
mentored at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, take me back to what was the conversation like? So you're there and you're in at your dinner table with your husband going, by the way, just
yeah,
got offered a partnership. Um, Gonna have to get a loan for a couple of $100,000.
yeah,
How did that go?
yeah. Look, my husband's very good. He's very supportive. He always has been, and I think he was like, "Look, if you run the numbers, and you think it's going to be, a good investment, and this is really what you want to do, I'll support you 100%."
Hmm. Was that a good investment?
Look, yes and no. So if I look at it as an isolated um, thing and where I was when I left, probably
Yeah.
not. But if I look at it as I wouldn't have been able to start two sides and have the growth that I've had
Hmm.
because I took some clients with me, then yes, because I would
Okay.
have had to start from pure scratch.
Why was it not a good investment on its own? Because usually, like traditionally, if it's a decent accounting firm, most have decent numbers, not great numbers, but at least
Yeah,
decent numbers.
yeah,
If you take out a loan and have a salary plus the profits at the end, as long as it's a, what, 20, if 20, 30% profit margin, hopefully more, but just say 25, 30%,
yeah.
it should still be a decent investment, no?
Look, it was good for the first couple of years. We had really good return. We were growing, but very slowly. We had a really
Mm,
good loyal base. It was a 30-year firm. But then, probably in the last 12 months that I was there, things were very stagnant. We were starting to, in those firms where they have been around for 30 years, you start to see the drop off. People passing away, people retiring, people
mm,
selling. And if you don't replace those clients with new ones, it's going to go downhill very fast. So from what I bought in at, from what I sold at, I actually lost some money when you look at how much
because
I,
the
yeah,
goodwill was reduced. Yeah, wow, okay.
yeah,
That's true. A lot of baby kind of boomer firms have the same issue now
yeah,
because they haven't invested in marketing at all.
yeah, correct. And then they're like, well, what do we do now? Where do we get the clients from? Whereas we know it's a very slow burn and it's a number
Mm,
of things. And so I knew that if I started on my own, I had all these ideas of what I wanted to do, that I could, make that investment back.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So after 5 years or so, you decided to part ways.
yeah.
Okay. What was the like crunch for you? What was the thing that kind of got you over the line
Yeah,
and
look, I
said,
had some personal things happening in the background. And I think in that time too, my husband had just left his corporate job and started doing personal training, and he was loving life. And I was
mm,
hating life, feeling like I was a 40% owner. I had all this debt, but I was still treated like the junior partner, a bit like an employee, didn't really have much input as to what was happening. We started doing some business coaching, and I guess I felt like we were paying the business coaches to say all the things that I'd already been saying for the last year and a half. And then we were sort of butting heads a little bit in some of those coaching sessions because I wanted to go one way and they wanted to go the other way.
mm,
And then also it was more of a group coaching. So I got to meet some of the other firms and see what they were doing, which really sort of opened my eyes and went, hang on, we're living in a cave here.
dark ages?
Yeah, we
Yep.
need to progress. And so I was trying to progress, and we just weren't on the same page. And I remember we'd been away for the weekend on a coaching weekend, and over the weekend I was thinking we're just not on the right page here. And I went in Monday morning, and they were going on about how great the weekend was and how we're all on the same page. And I was like, and I'd already sort of started thinking about it, but I hadn't actually fully made that decision until that morning. And then I was like, nah, I've just got to say this now, because I think I'd sort of been, as I said, thinking about it, but not ready to pull the trigger. And then I just pulled it. And
So it was a spur of the moment kind of thing.
as I said, yes and no. Like I was thinking it was probably going
Yeah.
to happen in the next couple of months,
Yeah.
but
Because
that
you want to
week,
see how things might go
yeah,
and
yeah,
develop,
but
etc. Because you're doing the coaching. Coaching should, get
yeah,
you there. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I just had enough, and yeah, they were very shocked, and they're like, "Are you
Did you
sure?"
make
And
it
I'm like,
dramatic? Did you like, you know what? I quit. Here's my letter and
no.
slam the door. No?
No, look, I wanted to make it very amicable. I wanted to, I said to them, I don't want to take a lot of clients. I just want a small parcel of clients. I want to go my separate ways. We'll work it out amicably. Obviously, that didn't happen. It never does. Um,
Why is that?
yeah. Look, I don't know. I think it's a bit like a marriage breakup. You want to
Mm.
trust the other person, but you don't really know what they're capable of. And so, they were probably thinking that I was going to go out and call the clients. So they wanted to get in first and I didn't know, you know what I mean? So it's,
Yeah, the
I don't
trust
know.
factor.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
those couple of
So
months were not fun.
how did they react? Like take us to that conversation.
Oh, I vaguely remember one of them saying to me, oh, I
'Cause
don't,
I can see you in the boardroom. They're saying
yeah,
we had a great weekend. We've got all these great ideas, and then there's you holding your head in your hands. I'm like,
yeah.
uh,
I just
what
was
happened?
like, I don't think so. We're on totally different pages. And I'm like, I've been thinking for a while that I think it's time for me to go out on my own.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were not expecting it at all.
Did they just go silent? Did they like?
God, I can't even, I think I've wiped it from my mind. It's a bit like PTSD. It's been what, 4 years now?
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Do you
can't
ever
remember.
still talk to them?
No, it didn't end
No.
very well. I bumped into them at a Zero Con, or not a Zero Con, some seminar or something a
Yeah.
couple of years back, and we were amicable.
But they sold
Um,
your well, you sold your share to them, negotiated the parcel of fees that you took with you, which I think you
yeah,
said was only what 60K or
yeah,
something.
wasn't a lot. So I guess in my mind, I was like, well, I'm going to leave, and the fees I'm going to take with me are way less than my partner's salary, so you should be happy.
Yeah.
But they weren't. I guess they realised a lot of the things that I did in the background, because I did a lot of the practice management type of
Hmm.
stuff. So I think and the social media and all that. So I think they realised all the things that I was doing, and yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And the fees, like, what made you choose that particular parcel, or how did you decide on the size? Like, 60 grand. Was it like,
Oh
yeah, it's enough for me to live in the Shire,
no,
pays the bills?
no. Look, I went through my client list, and they were like the big. It wasn't a lot of clients. It was maybe 10, 15.
Yeah.
So bigger group clients, and I knew they would refer. And I think in my
Okay.
mind, I knew I had a bit of money in the bank and we could go for a certain period of time. And then, I said to my husband once again, like, what do you think? Like, before I did it, I spoke to him about it. And I said, look, what do you think? And once again, same thing, if you're happy, what's the worst that can happen? Give it 6 months. If then we've run out of money, go get a job. And that's, accountants can get jobs pretty easily. So
Hmm.
I knew that worst case scenario, I just go get a
As
job.
long as they have a great recruiter, it's never a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what was going through your mind? Was it like, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a go? Was it like, did you have a big strategy and vision for what you wanted to do?
I think I did have a strategy and a vision, and I'd already sort of started working on the website. And I think, once you start thinking about the name, working on the website and all that
Mm.
sort of stuff, you're going to hit the button at any stage. So yeah, I did have a plan. I had, my 90, thanks to my coaching, I had my 90-day plan, my 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan, my strategy, all of that ready to go.
And when did you have the t-shirt, the two sides
No, we didn't have the
t-shirt?
t-shirts.
No?
No,
Okay.
didn't have those ready to
Um,
go. Yeah.
how did reality stack up with the plan?
Better than I could have expected. I was, yes, you want to back yourself and be positive, but at the
Mm.
same time, I was, crapping myself thinking, what have I done? Like, one of my best friends says to me just after that happened, we were sitting at a business chicks, um,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah, I
one of
know them.
those, big day
Yep.
things. And she says, I'll never forget. And she says this to me every year when we celebrate Two Sides' birthday. And she's another accountant as well. So she gets it. And she says, remember that day we were sitting there and you were saying to me, what have I done? I don't know what I've done. I'm crazy. Like now look at you, you're doing so well. Um, so yeah, I think we hit some of our 3 year goals, within the first year, which was,
Wow.
amazing. Yeah.
Okay. What were your 3-year goals?
So I wrote some of them down so I wouldn't forget if we were talking about them. So a couple of them was, first employee. I thought, well, it's going to take me a couple of years to, get to hire my first employee. I hired an intern who just helped me with bits and pieces and admin probably within 3 months. But my first actual employee came about probably about 6 months after that, I think.
Hmm.
And then we moved into a co-working space, so out of the home office. And I guess the turnover as well. So, by the end of year one, we're almost up by 300%. So
Okay.
in the first couple of years, we really had some really good growth.
How did you get that much growth? So you went from when you said 300%, we're talking about times four.
Yep.
So 60 to 240, if
Yep.
my maths
Yep.
is
Round
correct.
about that. Yep.
Yep. Which probably would have taken you to similar numbers that you were on before as a partner,
Mm.
I would imagine.
Yep.
And yeah, as you said, like you have to back yourself, right? Because you're walking away from a decent income
Yep.
to like 60 grand.
Yep.
That's what I've got. And
Yep.
that's assuming clients actually stick around.
Yeah.
Do the clients, well, actually, how did the clients react when you told them, by the way,
So yeah, look, most of the clients were really supportive.
Yeah.
A couple of the bigger ones just said, look, you've just got to make us a promise that you're going to be looking, you're always going to be there. Because I think what had happened was when the other partner brought me in to look after them, he just left them with me and off he went. There wasn't really, or they didn't feel there was, as much of a handover as should have been. And, they've had amazing service from day one. They've always had my mobile number. They, I've gone above and beyond for them because they supported me, at my time of need. And I think
It's
they're
a
all,
double-edged sword, isn't it,
yeah,
though?
yeah,
Because then you kind of like, how do you leverage your business?
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. What were we just talking about? I've forgotten. Where did the clients come from?
Yeah.
So I had been doing a lot of networking and a lot of, all that stuff prior to me leaving. But I felt like the problem was that we didn't do fixed fee, which made it very hard to quote for clients, because clients would say, well, how much does the work cost? And I would say, well, I don't know. It's going to be hourly rate. And the clients didn't like that. Whereas my vision was package, fixed fee, monthly fees. So that was one issue. But I think also because I'd already started all the networking and everything, people already knew who I was. So when I finally went, I'm going out on my own, everybody wants to support you. They want to support the underdog. When you're in a firm with other people, they think, oh, you're all good, you're established, you don't need our business, whatever. Whereas when you're out on your own, people know that you really want to grow and, you need the money. And so they support you and they just come out of the woodwork. And also conversations with the clients that came across to refer, to say, look, I want to grow this thing, refer me, who do you know, and all that sort of stuff.
Okay. Were most of your clients from referrals, or were they from the networking that you did?
Bit of both. And also probably social media. So that's
Okay.
always been something that, I've been very big on. And I think also packaging the services. So what we did in coaching, what I learned in subsequent coaching, was how to sell, which I think a lot of accountants, when you say selling, they go, oh, no good at that. And look, I was never very good at it before, and I thought it was me, but then I realized that it wasn't actually me. It was what I was selling. I didn't believe in what I was selling. Whereas now, two sides is me. It's what I want to do. This is our packages. This is what we think you need. And if you want to work with us, this is what you need. Otherwise, you go somewhere else. It's like you don't go in to get your car serviced and say to the guy, oh, I want my car serviced and I need my carburetor changed. You don't know until they know. They're the ones who tell you that. So we're similar. We've got to say, this is what you need. And I think a lot of accountants are afraid to do that. We tend to just go, oh, no, that client doesn't want tax planning. They can't afford it. Well, that's not for us to make the decision. That's for them to make the decision.
Yeah, your job is to offer. It's for them
Yeah.
to say yes or no. That's what I always say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to like when you were a partner before, did you have much success in terms of the business development side, or was it kind of just like, oh, if someone referred someone, that was
Yeah,
it?
like I probably only brought in a couple of, and I think that was, as I said, it was part because I didn't believe in what I was selling. Like I would go out to a client and I'd be like, okay, show me your books, and it sort of there wasn't actually a process.
So it wasn't like you were a rainmaker that went out on their own and then
No,
managed to grow by 300%.
no,
Like you had to learn the
yeah,
skills from scratch.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. You said like one of the biggest contributors was like the coaching you did that taught you like sales and sort of a different mindset. What was what was the biggest thing that you took away from that helped you in terms of strategies
Look, I
or
think in the original coaching, that I was doing with the other firm was more around valuing what you do, packaging, having a price list, like having some sort of,
Yeah.
document that helps you to then go, this is what the clients need. Whereas,
Mm-hmm.
we were just going into meetings and going, well, tell us what you need and we'll work out a price. But the
Mm-hmm.
clients don't really know what they need. So I felt like those meetings just weren't really working.
Yeah.
Yeah. And something obviously, had to change. And I guess that in the coaching, they make you look at your accounting firm like a factory. What are we producing? How much does it cost? All those
Yeah.
types of things that we don't, usually do in an accounting firm.
Okay. What coaching were you doing, by the way? Because you brought it up a few times.
Yeah. So we did slipstream coaching.
This was at Two Sides, or is it back
Sorry,
in
that was
your
back
previous?
at BML
Yeah.
Partners. Yeah. And then when I went and started Two Sides, I did some coaching with the Entourage. And
Okay.
um, and what they do is they do, well, they used to do, I don't know if they're still doing it now, but basically I would go into the city once a month, 2 days, and go through different topics. So 1 month might be sales, 1 month might be marketing, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
like a one-on-one, with your coach. And then I did a lot of, other sales courses that came from the Entourage. And I felt like that really, revolutionized. I think at one stage, and my practice manager will laugh at this, at one stage I was selling too well. And I said, I need to pare it back a bit because I was selling so good. But then the clients were then 2 months in going, oh, actually, this is a bit expensive. I sort of signed up to it because I felt like, they felt like they got all excited and they wanted to buy, but then they weren't happy. So now I've pared
Yeah.
that back a bit and spending a lot more time making sure that it is for them, that it fits in their budget and all of that, rather than just the selling,
Mm.
which is interesting because that's something I never thought would come out of my mouth ever.
So what did that look like? Is it like scripts that you used or process? Like,
Yeah, so a full process and scripts, I guess. So we had, a process of, when a lead comes in, how does it come in? Is it phone call? Is it
mm-hmm.
email? Is it website? Then how do we
Yeah.
respond?
Mm-hmm.
And then whether we have a follow-up meeting. And then obviously we use Practignition for our engagements. So basically we have everything set out, how much it's going to cost, and usually monthly fixed fee. And then we go through that with the client. And then if they are okay to proceed, we would try to get them to sign up on the spot, because that's what the salespeople tell you. You want to get them signed up when they're happy and excited and whatever.
Time kills deals.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I don't really do that. Now I go through it with them and go, I'll leave it with you, have a look through it, come back to me. And most of them still sign up. But I guess it's just adjusting the training for the specific industry, because Slipstream was purely accounting and financial planners, whereas Entourage is more general.
Anyone and
Yeah.
everyone, yeah. Small
Yeah.
business.
So just trying to adapt it.
Okay. So you actually found it really useful, the Entourage.
I did, yeah. It was
Okay.
funny, my husband would call it Jedi mind tricks because I was telling him about all the sales stuff I was learning. And it's funny because now he's got a business coach and he's doing those sales calls and he's telling me about them, and I'm saying to him, oh, you got the Jedi mind tricks right now. And he laughed.
What's the most effective one that you've used? Or the one that like really works or kind of revolutionized things for you?
Look, I think probably trying to sign them up on the spot is, going through it and going, how does that sound? Is that all? I guess also just before that is obviously solving a problem. So they come to you. With us, they fill in a fact find on our website, and one of the questions is what keeps you up at night. So when they fill that in, we know exactly what their pain point is. So that's what we start with. So you're being kept up at night because your cash flow is not good. So we start with, we can help you with that by doing a cash flow. How much does it cost? This is how much it costs. This is the process. How does that sound? Yep, great. So I think linking that problem with the resolution, and then how much does it cost? What's the next step? Let's sign it up now. So just that urgency of keeping it going really works well.
Okay. And what does your lead funnel look like, or did look like when you started?
So when we started, I guess it was a bit haphazard. It was sort of, if someone refers, they'd send me an email, and then I might call them back or email them back, probably go for a coffee, have a chat, work out what they need, then come back with a quote. And it was, not very
several weeks
proceduralized.
later.
Yeah, whereas now it's proceduralized. So most of the time now my practice manager actually does all of that, so I don't have to do it. And sometimes, she'll sign up a couple of clients and I'm like, who are these people? And she's like, oh, so I feel like I'm finally building a business that can, parts of it can run without me, which is fantastic, because I thought the sales piece would always have to, be something that I had to do.
Okay. So are most of your clients the social media stuff that you do is still referrals or?
Probably still a bit of both. We picked up our first TikTok client the other day.
Yeah, you told me you call yourself
Yeah.
the TikTok accountant.
Yes. That was a bit of a funny story. How much time we got? I sort of started TikTok, when COVID hit last year, as a way to, I guess, have a bit of a laugh. If you don't laugh, you'll cry, I guess. And just doing silly videos and stuff, and didn't really.
But accounting based, not dancing ones.
Oh, some of them were dancing to start with.
So that's
Yeah, they're not very good. Please, no one go onto my TikTok and scroll down to the bottom. You'll find some not so good dance moves. But yeah,
What
then
were you dancing to, by the way? Which songs?
I can't remember, whatever was trending at the time on TikTok. Yeah, I think some of them I actually shared in our one of the accountants' Facebook groups. So just letting them all have a laugh. I did one video, I think was Job Keeper, and I had it in the background. It was, this is the song that doesn't end, and I'm dancing around in front of the Job Keeper thing. So that was a funny one.
You got a solid following.
Well, so when I then sort of this year started, taking it a bit more seriously and doing some more accounting and tax videos, I did one video about how the tax rates work and tax on your second job. And that got almost 400,000 views. Yeah, crazy. And I think now I've got about 12,000 followers on there and Instagram, which is, blows my mind.
So this TikTok person, they just called you out of the blue, emailed you and go, look, I saw the dancing. I was really impressed.
I like your moves.
I mean, the tax video wasn't too bad, but
Well, I've got a link in my bio on my TikTok, and it's got a couple of things like, listen to my podcast, work with me, a couple of other things. So the work with me one then goes to our website, which is the fact find. So they filled in the fact find, and then one of the questions we always say is, where did you find us? And TikTok. And look, we did have the disclaimer is we did get quite a few time waster, funny people from TikTok. And at one stage, my practice manager was like, "Can you stop with the TikTok?" Like we were getting a couple every single day, and they were very interesting people. Let's just say.
Okay. Yeah, you never know. They might open a business tomorrow. When did you get a practice manager? Because not everyone has a practice manager. With I think you have 6 staff at the moment. Yeah. Plus the practice manager.
No, that's including the practice manager.
Including,
yeah. I got very lucky. So she was my first official employee, and originally she came on as client services coordinator.
So she's an accountant or admin based? Okay.
Admin, yeah. So she was a PA at an accounting firm for about 7 years. So she knows the ins and outs of, the portal and ASIC and all those types of things. And her husband also runs a business and she does his bookkeeping and BAS. So she's got a little bit of knowledge, which is great. So then as we sort of grew, and she also did quite a bit of HR when she was PA as well. So she's basically taken over the HR function. She takes the incoming calls. We do have another office junior who works a couple of days a week, and when she's here, she takes the calls. But primarily, it's our practice manager. And so she's really able to, I guess, help the clients with little bits and pieces without having to interrupt the team all the time, which is fantastic. And then, she's really my second hand. She helps with
all
workflow. And so I've been very blessed. Megan, if you're listening.
Yeah, okay. Are all the calls diverted to her phone now?
We've got VoIP phones. So the team's got their VoIP phones at home. They just had to pick them up and take them home.
Okay. Yeah. And reception? What is that?
Yeah, so basically she picks up the incoming calls. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Understand.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So practice manager was your first. Well, was that planned? Kind of like you decided I need an admin person to help me first before I need an accountant?
Oh, so I did have, before her, I did have a Philippines accountant. I forgot about him. Oops.
Okay. So you went the outsourcing
Yeah.
kind of way. 'Cause obviously, new business, wanted to save money,
Yeah.
and it's usually advertised as a way to scale, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Actually, well, let's talk about it. Tell me about your journey into outsourcing.
So yeah, the first guy that we had from the Philippines was through Hammerjack,
Mm,
and they're similar to the outsourced accountant, but they were quite new at that time. And so yeah, we made our first hire through there, and it worked really well because I was working from home still at that stage, so I didn't have an office yet either.
yep.
And I guess just yeah, having someone to be able to do all the work while I got the clients in, because I didn't have time to be doing everything. The first 6 months were obviously very difficult, having to actually do everything from bookkeeping to BAS to
Mm.
end of year stuff and grow the business at the same time. I look back now and I go, I don't know how I did it.
I was gonna say, like, well, were you working like 7 days a week, or?
Oh, I think at one stage I was. I think a Facebook memory popped up the other day, and I was at the gym with my laptop, and it was a photo, and I was sitting there on a Saturday morning. But I loved it. Like that was
Yeah,
like,
it's exciting,
yeah.
right? There's a lot of energy. Yeah.
So I
I mean,
did,
eventually you kind of burn out, but like
yeah.
it's exciting in the beginning.
It is exciting in the beginning. Yeah, so he came along and he was great. But then I think we found that we were probably overloading him with work. And so
Mm.
then his performance dropped. And then we tried to performance manage. But I think one of the problems we found with going through an outsourcing provider is that when you want to performance manage, you can't do it the way you want to do it. You have to do it the way they want you to do it. So the problem
Interesting.
is that they bring the employee in first and have a chat, and then you do. So I think we felt like the balance of power was not really working, and that the employee sort of felt like he could get away with certain things, if that makes sense.
Is that the
Um,
way it's still, or is that the official thing? Like you couldn't just, because obviously you would talk to them regularly as well, right?
yeah,
You couldn't just go, hey, by the way, this is, we need to have a chat about this.
yeah, you got to be very, very careful. And we went through the outsourced accountant later on, and it was a similar process. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so I think he was with us for almost a year. And then yeah, he decided that he didn't want to work for us anymore, so he left, and then we hired someone locally. And
Okay.
then we had some issues with someone that we hired locally, and at the intermediate level, and I think we sort of thought, oh well, paying double for an intermediate, we're
Mm.
getting the same as what we got when we were in the Philippines, so why don't we go back? And then
What
we
was the
went,
issue with the intermediate?
oh look, I think she had some personal things going on. She moved to Sydney from Queensland. She didn't have any other friends. She was living with a boyfriend. And then I think there was some personal things going on. But just, so it was like one day she turned up to the office all disheveled, just wasn't into it. And just the wheels
Mm.
fell off very quickly. We tried to work with her, but I think she had some personal things she had to,
Yeah,
sort
okay.
of deal with. Yeah. Um,
So you went back to the Philippines. Go, yep, let's try it
Yes, then we
again.
went back to the Philippines. I think we had hired another one or two, and then we thought, okay, we need some more capacity, but we don't have the clients, so let's go back to the Philippines. We got two this time through the outsourced accountant because we were very impressed with we felt like they had more policies and procedures, whereas
Yeah, it's
Hammerjack were
nice and
new and
structured aside.
they didn't
Mm.
have as much structure. So we hired two at once, which I would recommend never to do. I thought two at once was good. We could train them both together.
That would be my thinking as well.
But
Yeah.
it really doesn't work that way because they need different. If one of them needs help, you then got a lot. So then you've basically got to train two at the same time, and that was really difficult because I was training them. But the team was
Couldn't they
helping,
ask each
but
other questions?
well, yeah, you would think that, but yeah, it just didn't work out. Yeah, one guy was working for 1 or 2 days, I think, and then just disappeared, didn't come back.
Oh
So
yeah,
that
he did
was,
the typical Filipino AWOL thing.
yeah. They're like,
Had
he's gone
that happen a
AWOL.
few times.
We were like, is this a thing? And they're like, yeah, it happens all the
It is
time.
it
Oh,
is a
great,
thing.
thanks.
Because like my admin team is based there, so I was like, oh man, the amount of like AWOLing I had to deal with. I'm like, how is this normal in your culture?
I don't like. I think when they explained it, like he'd moved from some remote island, he was away from his family. Um, like when you think about it like that, it sort of makes sense. But yeah, so that was terrible experience. Then I think we overloaded the other one because we only had one left, and then we had to performance manage her. We had a similar issue once again that we weren't in the control power seat and
So
obviously
they
we
don't
had
take
to,
you seriously.
yeah, and then also there's obviously certain rules. You've got to give 3 months notice in the Philippines,
Mm.
which we knew was in the contract, but it's very difficult when you have to give
They're not
someone,
performing.
yeah, it's very difficult. Um,
Mm.
so then we performance managed her out. We got another one in. She was actually fantastic, and then COVID hit.
Mm.
And we just made the decision, sadly, that we didn't feel comfortable with someone working from home. So, you know, we we got told to get her redeployed in another business, and because they did that within within those 3 months, that was okay, and she was looked after. And I still actually keep in touch with her and just see how she is, because yeah, she was going great. So I don't know
Was
if
she doing just the compliance or bookkeeping for you
she
guys?
was
Or
more, yeah, more senior, so she was doing more compliance type stuff, and I
okay.
think that worked a lot better than say the bookkeeping piece. We found with the bookkeeping it was a bit hard because they don't know what BP is or what Bunnings is, so they
Mm.
can't code things as easy as probably an Australian junior could.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Um, in terms of the work from home, what's the difference between them working from home and your guys working from home?
Look, I think, and this was something that I had discussions with, with a number of other accountants. And I think if we had a team, it might have been different. But because we had one, we sort of felt like it was a bit easier to make that decision. But for me, it was, the Philippines is a third world country. We don't know their situation, like the other guy was saying, living away from his family. You don't know what their financial situation is. You know,
Mm.
I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit too judgy. But yeah, I just didn't feel comfortable with someone that I didn't really understand their culture and their values and all of that,
Yeah.
having that information at home in a nutshell, I guess.
Is there anything that is actually like could actually action anything? Because it's not like they have the bank access login details of clients or anything like that.
Well, they couldn't, but I guess tax file numbers and things like that as well.
Okay. In terms of
Identity theft was
identity
in my
theft.
mind, yeah, and
Yeah,
I
yeah, okay.
I just wouldn't feel comfortable, you know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Um, so you had the experience and you started, are you sticking to in-house now?
Look,
Are you done with the outsource
I
journey?
think we are. My practice manager told me she would leave if we went back to the Philippines because it, I guess it was hard as well because they have a lot more public holidays and they're different days. And then we
Yeah.
closed down for Christmas. So when we're closed, we had to then find work for them. And then when I'm on holiday, I've got to, and the time difference, there's a
Mm,
whole lot of things. Look, maybe in the future, once we're back into a growth phase and we need that capacity. But I feel like at the moment, my priority is building the core team. So the
yeah,
next hire I make will be a senior manager. And once we have that role, I feel like we've really got the engine room humming.
yeah.
So maybe we would look at it, for some
Are you
extra bottom.
still hands-on these days?
A little bit. So I get involved in some of the larger, client groups,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't do, the actual processing. So
Okay.
I'll just help in bits and pieces. And obviously I have to review everything at the moment. So once I get that manager, that'll be their job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think in some ways, like you're quite fortunate when you started out that as a partner, you were still doing processing as well.
Yeah. If I like,
Because
yeah,
most partners haven't touched a tax return in like
yeah,
years. So
yeah.
for them to go out on their own would be a struggle.
Yeah. And it's funny because I remember back when I was still hands on and the founding partner was not. And so, he'd say, oh, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that. And I'd be like, he doesn't even know how to do a tax return. And now I'm in that boat. I'm like saying to the junior, oh, get someone else to help you because I don't know I know sort of where to put it, but if you get an error, I don't know where to look for it, you know.
Yeah, how do you deal with that? Especially now, like you're training someone and then like they look up to you and like you meant to have all the answers.
Oh, look, I just say I don't do a lot of this processing anymore. I do more of the high level stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I'm very proud of what I don't know anymore. I don't, you know, my ego's fine.
And how did they take it? Were they like, okay, cool, I get it?
Yeah, they're pretty good. Like I always just tell them to ask one of the other team members that I know can do it.
Yeah. What have your learnings been like with the whole hiring piece and
Oh,
growing it
I
from
think
scratch?
I think the learnings about hiring people is like every person is different.
Mm.
So don't ever think that I guess unless you're a professional like yourself, like I don't have the professional background of the recruitment. I only know what I've learned, what I've read. I always, chop and change and, listen to podcasts like your previous one and get some tips on, interview questions and techniques and things. And then managing the team as well. I think it's all a learning process because we're all different. What works for one person is not going to work for somebody else.
Yeah. Have you refined anything or changed your processes in any way?
I
Like
think,
in terms of how you go about hiring people or managing people?
yeah, I think the hiring piece, I'm always changing that and trying to get my interview questions better and trying to ask more specific questions. We had someone that we interviewed for an accounting role just recently, and her resume said I'd do a BAS. And I said to her, okay, walk me through how you do a BAS. And she says, oh, I print the reports out of MYOB and I give them to the partner. And I said, all right, you're not actually doing a BAS. So now I say to them, walk me through step by step. And they look at me and I go, I've got to ask you this question because I've had, so yeah, I think I'm getting more detailed in what I need to ask. And they just look at me
Yeah.
with this funny face. And then in terms of managing people, I think, as I said, I've learned that what works for one does not work for the other. I think I started off in my career and I was too much of a friendly manager. Like I wanted to be everybody's friend.
Yeah.
And then I think I
Especially
might
when
have,
you're younger, right? You
you
kind
want to
of
be part of the
gravitate
crew
towards
and
that. Yeah.
yeah. And then I think I went a bit too far the other way because I had one of,
Ruthless, that's it.
well,
Boom.
one of our team members that left just after COVID, yeah, didn't give me some very good feedback. And so then that made me think, okay, I need to sort of move back into the middle. But it's always hard. Like, if you're too nice to someone, they might take advantage, whereas some people might really relate to that. If you're too hard with someone, they might, react positively because they want to, they want you to chat. Like yeah, it's hard.
It is. It's probably the hardest thing in running a business, the people side.
Yeah.
Mm.
If only we could hire robots, hey?
Well, AI is coming. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, I've got a pretty good team. I do. I've been very lucky.
Speaking of AI, you're big on like Zero and cloud and paperless, etc. Like that was from day one, basically.
Yeah.
Um, Tell me a little bit more about like how the way you do things compares to, a traditional firm.
So I think when I first started as well, because it was just me, I needed to automate the crap out of everything. So we had,
Mm,
practice ignition, which, is basically from, the quote, which is the engagement as well. They accept that, they pay, it pushes the invoice into Zero, marks it as paid, takes the payment. That takes out so much time. Whereas, at the old firm, if we did that, you'd send them out a paper like a engagement, might be by email. Then they come back and say yes. Then you're either invoicing them, collecting the payment, doing all that admin, or if you put them on direct debit, you've got to set all that up and all those processes. So that we couldn't grow as quick as we do without that process. It would just take too long. We need a whole nother person. So that was a big part of it.
just for that, you'd need a whole another person.
Well, maybe not a whole nother person, but we would need, like when I think about the traditional firms, you have someone who does admin, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So Megan, our practice manager, is only part-time. She does 9 to 3, Monday to Thursday, although most days she does more than those hours, but that's her standard. Whereas, yeah, in most firms, you've got a full-time person who's looking after the mail, the debtors,
Mm,
the billing, all that stuff that we don't
yeah.
need to do, and Calendly. So we send links out to for my diary through Calendly. Clients book
Yeah.
a call. If it's a Zoom call, it's integrated to Zoom, so they get the Zoom link straight away. We don't have to then follow up with that.
Mm,
We've got as a type form on our website that's where the business clients come through and fill it in as a fact find, I guess, to quantify the leads before we call them. We've also got another type form for our new individual clients. So if a client says, I want an individual tax return, can you give me a quote? We go, sure, here's the link, upload all your information and we will quote on it. We've got Zapier plugged into the background to automate a lot of other bits and pieces. So
Is that how the whole Practice Ignition Zero part works as well? Is that
no, so that's integrated. It doesn't need,
that's integrated
yeah,
now?
it
Okay,
doesn't
cool.
need Zapier, but Zapier pulls in the engagements and saves them into our Dropbox, for example.
Okay.
So we've got a lot of automation that goes on in the background.
Did you set it up yourself, or did you have to get someone
I set
to
it
come
all
in?
up. Yeah.
Okay, so pretty easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I've watched a few, practitioners do quite a few good videos on Zapier and how to, format it all and hook it up and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't quick and easy, but I figured it out.
Did you do your own website as well
I did. Yes. Yeah.
from scratch?
Yeah.
And still, even now?
Well, it's on my list of things to, I think I'm ready to get somebody to, let loose on it and update it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great website.
Well, thank you. I look at it now and I go, oh no, I cringe. I don't like it anymore. But when I
No,
first did it, everyone loved it.
Yeah, I cringe in mine as well. It was cool when I did it by myself. I was like, cool, I can do a website,
Yeah.
But then, yeah, after a while, you're like, yeah, maybe it's a little bit out of date
Yeah.
now. What did you use for yours?
Wix.
You use Wix
Yeah.
as well. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all like it's pretty easy to drag, drop, all that sort of stuff.
And social media, what are your biggest kind of avenues for client growth?
Yeah, look, I think video is a big thing. I think having people see my face, Instagram stories. I've just changed my personal Instagram to do a lot more like business type posts, not too many, because I don't want all my friends to go, oh, I don't want to follow her on Instagram anymore. So I think that works well, like the subtle, this is what I'm doing type of thing. And then, friends will reach out to me and go, oh, hey, I've been looking at your stuff for a while. Seems like you know what you're talking about. Can you look at, my Xero or whatever?
Is it weird to have your friends as clients though? Like, is it an issue ever? Because like, and also,
there's been a few disasters.
yeah, because like friends usually don't want you to know, what their financial situation is either.
Yeah,
Because that's another
yeah.
situation.
Look, most of them, like I don't do the day to day. So I said, look, I don't do your bookkeeping. So I'm not like, I still will review it so I can go in and I can look at things, but I'm not really going to have a look at all your receipts and seeing what you're spending and, no judgment, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But I think they know that obviously they're working with someone they can trust.
What have been some of the disasters?
Oh, I don't know if I want to go there.
Okay. Anything you can share?
Yeah, no, let's not go there. Because some of them are still friends. So
okay.
Yeah.
I doubt I'll be listening to the podcast.
Yeah, probably
not. Listens to accounting podcast, yeah.
You never know.
Okay, cool. So for clients, like when you said social media, did you get a lot of clients through social media at all?
Yeah, we did.
Or was it just kind of a credibility piece where you met them somehow, they were referred, but then they looked you up and like, okay, cool, she's got a lot of videos, she's got a lot of articles, etc.
I think a bit of both. Like I've had clients reach out and go, oh, we saw you on Instagram and then we spoke to somebody else and you're the go-to person. We're hearing a lot of great stuff about you. Or some people will be like, oh, I've been following your Instagram for a while. And then they reach out.
How do they find your Instagram? How does someone go, hey, I want to, I want to follow that?
Maybe I should start asking that question. How did you find me on Instagram? Like, did you come through, like some people have actually said they found obviously the website via Google. And then obviously they've gone off and then found the Instagram and all the rest of it. I think maybe it's also existing clients and friends of friends because they'll say to me, oh, I've told XYZ to follow your Instagram.
Okay. So and what do you put on your Instagram? What sort of stuff?
So I think the main thing on Instagram is the videos. So I just did a video about
accounting related stuff.
Yeah, like I did a quick 2-minute video how to read a profit and loss. Just the basic, really basic stuff, that.
Are you doing like professional style? Like you bought yourself an awesome video camera, or you're just like holding your phone and doing a selfie?
So I've got a selfie stand thing, but I found like in the early stages I was doing it all properly and editing it and uploading it, and it just takes too long. So then I got to the point where, and then take after take after take. So then I think it really started through COVID, where I was like, care factor out the window. I just want to get the messages out there. I don't care how I look. This is me. If you don't like it.
Did you always have your t-shirt, the 2 Sides t-shirt?
We've had the t-shirts for a number of years now. Yeah.
But you always make sure you've got it on when you're
Oh,
doing
not all the
your.
time. My signature of late's become my pink. I've got a pink jacket that I've been
Yeah.
wearing quite a bit on my TikTok, and that's, I think, my signature thing now. So I try to put that on all the time. And my husband jokes when I've got the pink jacket on, he knows I'm filming a TikTok or a Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's a.
Sorry, and probably the stories. So the Instagram stories. So I share a lot of, like through COVID this year, I've shared a lot of the updates to, all the things that are happening through Service New South Wales and, where to go. And
Why do you do it? Look, I don't really have Instagram or use it, but like, I thought stories was like a transient 24-hour
yeah, it is.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone misses it, then is that a good idea? Or it'll be like, you want them to be aware of it, or do you save it and then put it up as a post as
Yeah. So
well?
you then can have these highlights at the bottom of your, just under your profile where you can save the highlights. So then you can group
Yeah.
them all together. Yeah. And it
Gotcha.
doesn't,
Okay.
it doesn't mess up your feed.
How many followers have you got now?
I think on Instagram, I've got, about the same as TikTok now, almost 12,000 followers.
Okay.
Mm.
Are you does that make you an accounting influencer yet, or like
No.
is there a threshold?
I think it's a micro influencer.
Micro
Yeah.
influencer. Um,
Yeah.
okay, cool. And you say people actually, that's your biggest platform then, Instagram?
Yeah. I
By
think
far.
like
Okay.
before it used to be Facebook, through Facebook groups and obviously the business page. But I found a
Yeah.
lot more engagements coming from my personal page because I guess they're following me and seeing what I've got to, I guess, post rather than just the, a boring accountant's Instagram
Is it a
page.
female-centric kind of thing?
Not really. I think the pink
Like,
jacket might give it a bit of a female vibe, but no.
okay. So because like I don't use Instagram, for example.
Mm.
I don't really get it, but I know obviously a lot of people do. I know my wife is always on it.
Yeah.
Every time I used to sit on the bus, you would see most girls are on it, like
Mm.
flipping through stuff. So I was curious whether that is reflected in your clientele as well.
Oh, look, I think we've picked up a lot of, like during COVID, we picked up a lot of e-commerce clients from
Hmm.
Instagram because that's where they are, that's where they live.
Yeah.
And they've been quite good clients. I
Hmm.
guess it just
Okay.
depends, like we're not finding the bigger type of clients on there, but we're finding a
Yeah.
lot of the smaller micro clients, which we love to work with.
Yeah. Okay. Are you still on Carbon as well?
Yes. Yep. We use Carbon
Okay.
for our practice management.
Cool. So Carbon, Zero, and then a whole bunch of stuff that helps you around that,
Yeah.
just to make it. Anything else that's like, so practice ignition sounds like that was a game changer.
Yeah,
Is there
practice
anything else that was a game
ignition.
changer?
We use CAS 360, which is
Yeah.
amazing for ASIC compliance. It gives us visibility over the ASIC debts when they're due. That was a big thing because you send out the ASIC invoice and it's not due for I think 2 or 3 months and everyone forgets about it. So at least
Yeah,
we
but
can
then you get the
see.
penalty.
Yeah, and ASIC won't give you a remission even if I think I saw something in a Facebook accounting group the other day and someone was dead or had died and ASIC had said, well, we need a signed stat dec from the deceased. And someone had posted it and gone, what the hell?
Yep.
So that's what I'll be telling clients these days. They won't even let you off if you're dead.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Like, is that serious?
I think it was serious. I think it was like an automated response. So I think some of the
Okay.
accounts were like, just ring ASIC and explain the situation. And
That would be an amazing meme.
and that's automation gone mad, right?
And were you always on Carbon, by the way?
No.
From day one?
From probably not day one, maybe like the second month. I think when I first started, I was doing it on spreadsheet. And then when I got my first employee in the Philippines, I thought, well, how am I going to manage this, be able to see the emails that are going out and obviously proceduralize everything we do. And so Carbon was an absolute game changer. I recommend it to anybody who's
There's
got...
nothing else near that? Like
I don't
Zero
think
Practice
so.
Manager or
Look,
anything like that?
some other firms might swear by Zero Practice Manager, and obviously it has its pros compared to Carbon. But for me, the visibility, like I can go into a contact and see all the emails that have gone out from the whole firm to the one contact in the one place.
Okay.
Now, Practice
Is it a
Manager doesn't do
SaaS
that.
product as well? So per user?
Yes, per user. Yeah. So it is quite expensive. But in our old firm, I think we were paying $200 per month per user for a MYBAE. And Carbon's not even that expensive. So
Yeah, okay. And much better.
yeah,
Okay. Because that's the thing with the whole tech stack thing is like, look at your website and other people's like you use a million different products. When
yeah.
you're starting out, it's like it all adds up.
Oh, it does add up. But I think for me, I was like, I'm going to double down on all this stuff and get it right from the beginning, because
Yeah.
as we grow, it needs to be right. And I think looking back, if I hadn't have done that,
Hmm.
we wouldn't have been able to grow like we have. Not at all.
Do you have an intranet or like where do you keep all your processes and workflows and.
Dropbox. So we use Dropbox for that.
Okay, and it's organized with an index
Yeah.
and in a particular way?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we've got it. The Dropbox hooks in with zero tax, so when the clients sign
Yeah.
their tax returns and BASs, they're automatically saved in client. It's like a client order,
Mm.
and then we've got our corporate compliance all saved by client by year, and it's all sorted.
In Dropbox.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
And you don't send any paper. It's always everything's emailed or through a system of some
yeah,
sort.
yeah.
Yeah,
We
okay.
very rarely use the printer. When we're using the printer, someone's like, "What's going on?" And I've got an iPad with a pencil, so I've been doing all of the Service New South Wales letters with my iPad, which is great
Yeah.
because the printer's out of ink, and Officeworks don't have any in stock, so that would have been great.
When you go to client meetings, all the same sort of thing,
iPad,
iPad,
yeah.
and then all the notes get transcribed into
Dropbox, yeah.
Dropbox as well. Okay. Any other cool automations that you've done that like any other cool game changers?
Um, I guess we've also got Practice Ignition hooked into Mailchimp. So when a client accepts their engagement in Practice Ignition, it automatically adds them into our Mailchimp list, and then it sends them a welcome email. So a lot of the clients
Hmm.
think that's pretty cool because they're like, "Oh wow, someone's sitting there and they've sent me an email straight away." I'm like, "Oh, it's automated." And then we've got Slack for our internal chat, which is great when we're
Yeah.
working from home. And so then it sends a Slack message and it says, "Hey, client XYZ has just signed their engagement. We've got a new client. Celebrate, little GIF." So that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um, anything else?
and that's probably it. That's
Okay.
enough.
Yeah, no, it's a good stack. And for anyone who wants to check it out, go to Nat's website, which I think is
twosides.com.au. Yeah,
twosides.com.au. Yeah, she's got a whole like half the page is
yeah, all of our
dedicated to all
apps.
the
Yeah.
things. Yeah. Are you changing or exploring anything else right now?
We're just about to change from DocuSign to FuseSign. So
Okay.
that'll be in the
How come?
next month or two. Just DocuSign is very expensive.
Okay.
Yeah,
Are you on Gmail or Microsoft?
Microsoft. We did
Okay.
look at moving across, but we found that we need Excel. We can't live with just Google Sheets. They're not good enough for work papers and spreadsheets and all that sort of
Really?
stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So what if most of it would be done like inside your systems?
Well, that's something else. We're looking at zero work papers as well. We're just waiting for them to make
Yeah.
a few tweaks. They're a bit late on that. Zero, hurry up.
Okay.
But yeah, that's something we wanted to start too.
Okay. How do you organize and structure your day, like, especially now compared to when you first started, which was
Oh,
probably hectic?
it's a bit all over the shop. Like I'll have obviously my meetings scheduled. At the moment, we're doing a daily huddle with the team, so everyone gets in, prioritizes their day. Then at 9 o'clock, we hop
Hmm.
onto Zoom, have a quick half an hour. What's everyone doing today? What are the roadblocks? Does anyone need anybody else to know anything that's happening?
Hmm.
Um, and then I try to probably not have any meetings for maybe an hour after that, because I know that the team are going to need me for something during that time. So mornings are always very hectic. And then I try not to have more than 2 meetings in the day, because I know if I have like client meetings,
Hmm.
if I have more than 2 client meetings in a day, the day just disappears and then I can't get anything done.
Yeah.
But apart from that, yeah, everything else is a bit haphazard depending on, whether the team have stuff that I need to review that needs to go out,
Mm.
and, obviously what else is going on.
Did you do the group huddles before COVID, or is it like just a COVID remote working thing?
So before we just used to do a weekly meeting, and because our
Yeah.
office is open plan, we sort of have a bit of an informal chat every morning. So the huddle, I guess, is more to give everybody a bit of face time and not feel lonely,
Mm.
and then also a bit of help with prioritizing work at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things you mentioned to me was like, as biggest or one of the biggest challenges for you was actually dealing with rapid growth.
Yeah.
Can you explain?
Yes.
Because
So
most people want,
yeah,
that problem.
yeah. Oh, and it's a great problem to have. But I think the hard thing is that we're always changing our processes, for example, because what worked for, I guess, three of us was not then
Mm,
work for four and five and six. So we're always changing the process. So, who's sending out the tax returns? Is it admin or is it the employee? Um,
mm,
what, um, yeah, there's so many different facets to it. Then looking at, okay, when do we need to hire our next person?
yeah.
um, how many bookkeeping clients have we got? Can we manage those? How, like, just shuffling around the clients when they come on and trying to get the flow of work right.
Hmm.
um, yeah, and then obviously capacity planning as well, making sure there's enough work for everybody, trying not to chase it in too quickly, and then you've got too much pressure versus
Yeah.
not chasing it in and not having enough work. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's been the biggest one if you had to choose? Like, what was the most surprising one?
I think it wasn't surprising. I knew it was going to be difficult. Is probably the hiring piece. So working out who to hire
Mm,
next, and that's always been a hard thing. Like we had at one stage, we had a bookkeeper who just did bookkeeping,
yeah.
whereas now we've got a couple of juniors who do bookkeeping and tax, and we find that works very well because otherwise we've got one bookkeeper with too many clients and it's too much to handle. Whereas now we spread that load out a bit more.
How many accounting firms have a bookkeeping arm as well, and then they offer it as a service?
I think it's becoming a lot more mainstream. Even some of the big firms, I think, are starting to really, double down on the bookkeeping piece.
But is it like 50-50, or is it like a 10% that
Oh,
offer bookkeeping?
I wouldn't know. I'd probably, if I had to guess, I'd probably say around 20 to 30% max.
Still a minority.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Like,
And
definitely it's growing, but still a minority.
why is it growing?
Well, I think, like for us, for as an example, we found a lot of new clients come to us because they need someone to do their bookkeeping.
Hmm.
They're frustrated with having the bookkeeper fight with the accountant. And so they want one because they're having to double handle a lot of stuff, you know.
What do they fight about? Like,
Well, not really fighting, but for example, we got a new client last week, and one of her biggest bugbears was she says, "Oh, my bookkeeper does all my zero, and then I have to go in and print out the reports and give to my accountant to do my BAS." I said, "Well, number one, you shouldn't be printing out anything. You just invite them into the file.
yeah.
But number two, then you've got this disjointed relationship because she said the bookkeeper's doing the day to day, then the accountant's trying to advise her but doesn't understand the day to day.
Hmm.
So we know everything from the day to day right through to the more advanced tax planning. We know that Joe Bloggs bought a car last month because we did the bookkeeping and we've caught that early. So
Yeah.
we're able to capture a lot of things earlier than we would if we just did the end of year work.
Yeah. Okay.
And
And
also
it helps you with the tax
yeah,
planning.
and also streamlining. When we've done the bookkeeping, we know the end of year work is going to be a lot cleaner and cheaper for the client. Whereas if we're doing the end of year and someone else has done the bookkeeping, we've got
Hmm.
to check it that little bit more than we would, checking our own work.
Is there much margin on the bookkeeping part?
The bookkeeping is very like minimal margin.
Because you still charge by the hour, or do most places still charge by the hour on that?
Some do fixed fee.
Yeah.
We do. Sorry, some do some do hourly rate.
Yeah.
Most do fixed fee. We do an hourly rate that we work out how many hours we need each month, and then we fix it. Because we thought, well, if we do fixed fee, how do we then have that conversation when the hours are going to be more? Like, how does that
Mm.
piece sort of work? So yeah, it is. It's not really a loss leader. We're not losing money on it, but we don't make a lot of it. Where we make the money is the end of year, the tax planning,
Yeah. Okay.
those other parts.
Okay. So you would never get rid of the bookkeeping. That's always going to be an integral part.
I think that was one of the key things I wanted to do from the beginning.
Did your previous firm do it?
No,
No.
no. So
Okay.
the only bookkeeping we did was, I guess, for some really micro clients where they'd come to us to do the BAS and we'd do the 3 months of coding. It wasn't really bookkeeping, more just coding it up in Banklink or something like that and doing the BAS. Whereas we do all of our bookkeeping either, some do weekly, most do monthly.
Yeah.
We do the monthly bookkeeping. We let the client know this is how much you need to put aside for GST, super, etc. So they're planning every month as to what that looks like.
And you only take on 0 clients, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Across the board or just for the bookkeeping part?
Across the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to keep it simple?
Just to keep it simple and also streamline everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've also said you're kind of putting the brakes on the growth part.
Yeah. So, after burning out a little bit last year and then sort of back to that now, last year we also disengaged quite a few clients just because I think
Disengage is an interesting word.
disengage.
Did you have to use practice ignition for that, or
No, we just
is there a special app for disengagement?
no. It'd be nice if there was a special app that says goodbye. Yeah, I think obviously everyone was very emotional last year, and we still sort of are. But I think a lot of people showed their true colours, and we had a couple of clients that probably didn't treat us with the respect that they should, and it wasn't really fair to the team. And I think for me, the biggest, one of my, biggest things is if they don't spark joy, as what's that lady, Mary Kondo, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
If they don't spark joy, then life's too short. They're out the door.
Okay.
If I'm going home and thinking, oh, I'm so, angry at the world after being treated a certain way, I don't want my team to feel that. So yeah, we cleaned out the dead wood. And I think for now, as I said, my priority is just getting the core team, building our processes again, and then maybe next year relooking at, really pushing that growth. But for now, I'm spending a lot more time, as I said, managing the team and all of that. And also
never ending task.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So is there a vision or a strategy at the moment, like an end game?
Oh, at the moment, we're just sort of cruising. I think I had, in my mind, I wanted to hit that 1 mil fees by 5 years. That was a big thing, and we were tracking well. And then obviously COVID, and we, got rid of a couple of larger clients, and we've, gotten some.
So what was wrong? Were they just rude, basically? Or?
Oh, there was some that were very rude.
Because why were they rude though?
So we had one client, for example, and he would never listen to this podcast, that's totally fine, who basically, we lived and breathed JobKeeper. We did emails out every day, we did Facebook posts, we did everything we could do. Then what happened was he reached out to us later and was like, oh, well, why didn't you tell me about it? And I nearly lost, I won't swear, but I nearly lost it. I was like, and this was like a friend of a friend, I said, look, with all due respect, I did that many webinars, that many social posts, that many emails. If you didn't read them, I went through the client list and got some people, but I think he had another job at some stage, and he does a bit of freelance. And so
he would have gotten an email from you, multiple emails, right?
He would have, but it was his mate down the pub that mentioned JobKeeper. And so then he thought he'd ring his accountant. Yeah. And then there was a couple of discussions after that just clients that are never happy, no matter what you do, and I think because I was so emotional about everything that I had done during that time, like I worked my butt off, to then be told, oh, I don't feel like my accountant helped me at my time of need. Like I was just, no, I've got no time for that,
So how did you part ways? Like, what was your approach?
So I think it came down to, I think we're doing some tax planning. And
by the way, do you have a process in Dropbox about how to part ways with a client?
No, we probably should.
Okay.
I think we actually have a letter that someone had, I think some other accountant had written during COVID. It was a really great letter. We didn't use that though. I think what happened was there was a couple of emails that went back and forth, and I just said, look, I just feel like we're not the right fit. You never seem to be happy no matter what we do. I think it might be best if we part ways. And then I rang him and said, look, a lot of the time I'll do something and then I'll calm down, I'll think about it. And then I rang him and said, look, no hard feelings, but this is, and he goes, look, thank you for your email. I'm glad that you were, honest and direct. And I agree. I think, I'm going to go somewhere else. And that was fine.
Okay. But there was a few of those basically.
Yeah, there was a couple. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
that was your process, email and then a phone call?
Oh, some of them have just been a phone call. Some when I'm a bit more angry, they just get an email that says, you're not happy, I'm not happy, life's too short, let's just call it a day and no hard feelings.
Literally like that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you put a little meme in there or anything?
I wish I could. I wish I
Yeah.
could. I think when you grow fast, you're going to have a lot of clients that maybe don't align with your vision and purpose and all those things that maybe you don't see when they come on because you're excited for a new client, and
Mm.
you always want the best. You always, expect that what they're saying, like, they want to change and they want to be good with their books and they want to do all this stuff, but then they just bitch and moan and they're never going to be happy. So
Yeah.
why do we bother? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think you listened to because you wrote a post on it on LinkedIn about Peter
Yes.
Knight's podcast that I did.
Yeah.
And we're talking about like letting go of clients, and it's like he gets emotional about it because
Yeah.
like he looks at a client as you go on a long journey
I
together,
know.
and you have to
Yeah.
part ways. Yeah, I was like, oh wow, interesting. I should ask other accountants how they manage that,
Yeah. I
whether it's
think
a
we
big
do
deal
get
for them or.
Yeah, I think we do get a bit emotional, but I think too, I've got to set the standard to the team that it's not like, if someone wants to work with us, they've got to treat us with respect, like they want to
Mm,
be treated. Don't use us as a doormat. It's not fair.
mm,
Yeah.
okay. And it's important, yeah, because you always have to stand up for your team as a leader,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
One of our team has actually got her own little bookkeeping on the side, and she actually said to me the other day, I've actually fired a couple of clients after watching the way that you handle them. Life's too short, and not worth the stress. Which it's not worth the stress. It's not worth the grey hairs that popped up
So
over.
one of your staff has their own little bookkeeping business.
Yes, yep.
How do you manage that? Because I know some firms kind of take very different approaches to
Oh,
that.
look, it's totally separate. She's had it from day one. Um, yeah, she works casually, so she helps us out. Sometimes 5 days a week when we need it. When we don't need it, 3 days a week. She's more senior as well, so she's very. It just works.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What's had the biggest impact on you in your life, like a person or a book or a mentor?
That's a hard question. That should have been in the pre-question, so I could have a think about that. I don't know.
Gotta be able to stump you with something.
I think probably when I was at the other accounting firm,
Yeah.
I changed gyms. So before my husband had a gym, and I was then surrounded by a lot of business owners.
Mm,
The guy who owned the gym, very motivational. Then I saw my husband start his business, and I guess I was surrounding myself with all these people who were starting businesses and doing really well and loving it. And I was like, I want a piece of that. I want to like achieve something big, not just go to work every day. And as I said, at that stage, I was a 40% partner, so I should have already been feeling like that, but I wasn't. So I was like, this is
mm.
just not right. And then that started me on the path to two sides, which, you know, I'm very, very happy.
Do you find you've got more freedom and flexibility and time, or I guess work-life balance now than when you were a partner in a firm?
Well, I feel like it's ebbs and flows. So, like, I look back on that early stage when I first started, and yes, I was working 7 days a week, but, I could log off at 3 o'clock and go to the gym.
Mm,
I could, take a week off and take my laptop and just work and do whatever. Whereas now that I've got a team, I'm finding, and obviously a new team, I've got a couple of people that are new. Every time you hire someone, you work twice as hard because you've got to be there for them. You've got to
mm.
show up, you know. And then I feel like
Such a disincentive to hiring someone, isn't it?
with the long term gain, it's always
Yes,
long
if
term
they stick
if they
around,
stay.
if they do a
Yeah,
good job, blah blah
yeah.
blah. Yeah,
Yeah, so ebbs and flows. Like, at the start of the year, January, we closed the office for 4 weeks.
yeah.
The team did a bit of the bookkeeping from home just to keep up with that. But, I basically had 4 weeks where I didn't have to do any work. And that
Mm,
was like living the absolute dream. A couple of years back before COVID, I went to New York for 2 weeks, didn't take my laptop, told the team, don't call me unless the place is on fire. We had one call, came back, and it was all fine. The place wasn't burnt down, and that was a huge thing to do because previously I'd obviously gone away and made
mm.
phone calls and checked in and all the rest of it. But I was like, I need a holiday, like a proper
Switch off.
holiday,
Yeah.
because I think when you start, you're like, oh, we can work. I can work anywhere. I'll take my laptop. Every time we went away, I'd have my laptop always be contactable and there.
Yeah.
But I think you've got to have that time to just switch off And that's something, if you have a good team, you can definitely do. And I think that's been awesome.
Do you do timesheets in your business?
We do. We do.
Okay.
And that was something that in the beginning I didn't want to do. I was really against. We're not going to do timesheets. It's all going to be great. And then, when you've got people working remotely, you need the timesheets because you need to see A, what they're doing, B, whether we need to rescope it, and C, whether they need any extra training.
So can you ever get rid of timesheets in professional
Oh, I
services?
don't think so. I've had this argument with a few accountants, but I don't think so. Because you can't
Okay.
measure it. How do you measure? How
Why do you need to measure it? The work gets done, it gets done on time. Like you have a
Well, I guess if you do a fixed fee, you need to know if you're making any money. And
yeah.
I think a few accountants have said, well, if we're making money at the end of the year, we know we've made money. And I would
Hmm.
say, well, yes, but you could be losing money on 3 clients. You wouldn't even know. And if you got rid of those 3 clients, you might make more profit.
What did they say?
And they're like, oh, we don't think about it like that. No. So there's many,
I,
many arguments.
I saw your response on LinkedIn as well to Bob Harper when he asked about whether you can give your rent compliance away for free and monetize the
Oh,
relationship. You weren't too happy with that.
I sort of let loose on that. I bit my tongue. I bit my tongue.
So we're not changing the business model anytime
No,
soon.
we're definitely not.
I
No.
had a conversation with Paul Dunn, who's like we talked about Bob's kind of approach as well. Do you know Paul Dunn?
No.
Okay.
None rings a name, rings a bell, but yeah.
You know Rob Nixon?
Yes. Yep.
So he trained Rob Nixon. He was like
Okay.
a huge version of Rob Nixon back
Yeah.
in the day. But he's still very much involved in the accounting industry. So, and he was just telling me how like some of the car companies, like Porsche, for example, and that was a conversation I was trying to remember now. Instead of buying a car, you pay a subscription.
Mm.
So you no longer like they basically made a typical thing like a car purchase into a SaaS model. Um, or a subscription model where you pay a subscription per month and then you can drive a Porsche and then 2 months later you get sick of that Porsche, you return it back, you pick up another Porsche. And I think the concept, that's what inspired them to see, could you do that in accounting as well, where you kind of monetize the relationship, and just say, look, you pay me an amount, I will do this amount, advisory,
Like a
this project,
retainer.
that project.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then etc. So there's an element of that. Like I don't see much difference to just kind of the fixed fee arrangement, with some modifications, really. But I think that's where they're going with that. I know they're both. There's some collaboration. There's a book coming out and all of that sort of stuff.
Mm.
So it'll be interesting to see
Interesting.
how. Yeah, because there's a lot of disruption is a big thing as well,
Mm.
right? Um, so rapid fire questions. You ready?
Yeah. Ready as I'll ever
Okay.
be.
What's your favorite quote?
Favorite quote. This is an easy one. I've actually got a tattoo of this. Believe in
You got a
yourself.
tattoo of it.
Yeah. Believe in yourself. Yeah.
Okay. When did you get the tat?
I got it, I think it was 2012.
Okay.
I think I was on a fitness journey and I lost a heap of weight. And so I got never give up, believe in yourself. Yeah.
Okay. Is that like one tat or is that two tats?
Well, it was 2 because I did one. I wussed out and couldn't get both, and then I had to go back and get the second one. Yeah.
Um, what have you read, watched, or learned recently that's had the most impact on you?
Um, I haven't been reading a lot lately because I've been too busy with work. Haven't really been watching a lot apart from crappy Netflix, to be honest.
It is crappy. Do you find it's getting crappier and crappier?
Yeah, I started doing a puzzle because I can't watch any more Netflix. I'm going crazy. And what was the other one? Read, watched, or
Or learned?
oh,
Besides from, Accountants Exposed podcast, obviously. It's a gold
yeah.
mine.
I know. I guess I learn a lot about all the New South Wales grants, Job Saver. I didn't read that for a couple of months. That's probably all my brain could could fit.
What have you bought recently that's had an impact?
I bought a Audi.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. I was like, wow, well, I looked it up. The guy's
Yeah,
like a millionaire now. He's a young bloke.
he's a young guy. And yeah, I think he's had a few failed businesses. It's very interesting hearing about his journey. But yeah, it's an oversized, like hoodie type of thing, oversized. And yeah, I guess people are buying it during lockdown because it's very warm and cuddly. And yeah, I guess I got stuck it in.
It's like those towels that you see on the beach. You know, like the one that kids always have, like
Oh,
a towel that you can kind of wear.
yeah.
Is that?
Oh, yeah. Like the ones that go over the head. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Sort
yeah,
of.
yeah.
Yeah,
Same kind of concept, right?
yeah.
Okay. Um, what is something most people don't know about you?
Oh, probably that I can't cartwheel.
That is so random.
It is very random. It is very random.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried?
I have tried. And Lee, if you're listening, Lee, who works with Ali at All In Advisory, she also can't cartwheel. We found this out. We were at an accountant's retreat thing. Yeah, and then we tried it. It was not very, very good. Yeah.
Surprised it didn't come up on your Instagram. Um, who would you want to have a drink with the most in the world, past or present? What would you ask them?
So this is a very controversial answer that a lot of people probably won't agree with, but Roxy Jasenko, I think she's great. I think she doesn't take crap from anybody. She's achieved a lot, at her age. I know a lot of people say, oh, she got a lot of money from her parents and she's rich family and all that stuff. But yeah, I just think what she's done and how she's marketed herself and grown. Yeah, I think she'd be like, I did meet her at that Business Chicks event, had a quick chat with her. But yeah, I think she'd be someone cool to have a drink with.
Okay. What would you ask her?
Oh, I don't know where I would start. I think I'd probably I've read most of her books, so I'd probably just start with like how did she get started,
Okay.
and maybe what her biggest learnings are.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Natalie, thank you so much for your time. It's been an
Thank
absolute
you,
pleasure.
Michael. It's been lovely.
Thank you for tuning in and hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like our podcast and share it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, wherever it is you hang out so more people can benefit from these speakers. Also, please subscribe on our website so you get all of our latest episodes. And if there's anything else I can help you with, or you have speakers you'd love to hear from, or some feedback about the current episode, please feel free to send an email to michael@recruitmentexpert.com.au. Until then, take care, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future.